So the Supreme Court had its ruling, okay? Trump and any president has immunity for official acts, and it is up to the lower court, not the Supreme Court, to determine what was an official act, what was an unofficial act, meaning not part of his appointed duties. Now, that begs the question, what will that mean to the three cases? We saw right away the New York case, the lawyers put in a request for that case to be vacated. I don't know. The Georgia election interference case, the Mar-a-Lago records case, okay? All three of these are now cast into doubt. Why? Let's discuss. All right, let's bring in two much better minds. Robert Ray, former independent counsel, of course, worked as part of Trump's defense team at one point, and former New York City prosecutor Paul Callan. Paul will be playing the one side, and Robert Ray will play the side closer to Trump's cushion. So, Paul Callan, what is the problem presented to prosecutors by this case yesterday?
Well, I think we're seeing it play out in New York, first of all. And ironically, the New York case may turn out to be a very important case because I think the decision will have a bigger impact on the other cases, the Washington, D.C. case, which are federal charges, and the Florida case. But prosecutors in New York, where he has been convicted already on those 34 counts of falsifying business records, are the defense is claiming, the Trump defense is claiming that he was acting in his official capacity as president and that those charges should be dismissed. And the judge now has adjourned the sentencing from July 11th to September to take a look at that. And obviously the judge wants to take a careful look at it. I don't
All right, let's go one at a time. Let's go one at a time. So that's the New York case. Robert Ray, I think the judge delayed the sentence, yes, to give them time to present their argument, but also because to the extent that this was political at all, this is not good for Democrats to have him sentenced, right? Because we saw what the conviction did for Trump. What will the sentencing do? How much money will it make him on the campaign finance side? So I think there could be mixed motives. But even if it's pure, why does this new standard mean the judge can't say, yeah, I believe that what he was saying about paying off the porn stars and messing with the campaign finance requirements was an unofficial act. I think the evidence is fine. It's not an absolute that just because you were saying it while you were president, it means it's official.
He could well say that, but he has to be careful because there was evidence. I mean, remember, we already have a trial record. There was evidence presented at trial that does concern activities of Donald Trump while he was in office. I agree that, generally speaking,
but it doesn't mean that it's official.
No, it doesn't. But at least a record has to be made, which is why you have to have time for both sides to submit their respective positions with regard to it. There also has to be sufficient time for the judge to decide whether or not he may need, a hearing of some kind, an evidentiary hearing to resolve some of those issues. You're going to have a question about, drawing a line between whether they're official acts or not. And also a careful judge might say, even though, Chris, you're correct, the judge could ultimately come down and say, look, with regard to this particular evidence that was admitted at trial, I find that that was a non-official act. But even if it was an official act, I further find that it's subject to a rebuttable presumption. And finally, that even if it was error for me to have admitted that evidence, now that we know what the Supreme Court standard is, I further find, and the judge makes a specific finding since he sat the trial, that I don't think the error was sufficient to survive a harmless error review. In other words, if any error existed, it was harmless beyond a reasonable doubt, and the jury's verdict stands. So he's got to make all of those findings, which is why you have to have papers submitted. You got to consider whether or not there should be a hearing, and you ultimately have to make a call about that.
I get it. I mean, just because there's more process doesn't mean there's going to be a different outcome. But, Paul, give me a quick take on what it could mean in Georgia and in the Mar-a-Lago documents case, and then let me get Robert in to respond. But give a quick take to the audience for what it could mean.
All right, let's look at the Georgia case. Like the New York one, this is a local case. It's not a federal case. But it has to do with Trump trying to allegedly tamper with the election process by calling the Secretary of State there, by entering into a RICO conspiracy to change the election results. Once again, it doesn't really sound like he's acting as president of the United States in doing that, although I think there's a stronger argument here by the prosecution.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.